Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Jenny Aiello, and this is With Love, Jenny, a podcast where we meet ourselves right in the heart of our vulnerability and authenticity. In this sacred space where it's just you and I dive into real life, rich with wisdom and opportunities for deep healing. I explore what it means to truly connect to ourselves, to each other, and to something much greater than us all. In each podcast, I like to meet life right where it touches us most, in our tenderness, in our truth, in our struggles and our strength. So wherever you are on your journey, or whatever it is that you're carrying, no matter how light or heavy, just know I'm so grateful that you're here with me today. So take a deep breath, settle in, and let's begin today's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of With Love, Jenny. Kristen and I are in a great conversation after our last podcast about the proverbial question that we all want to stop and ask or visit now and then. That is, who am I? Who am I in this moment? What makes us who we are? So our last podcast, if you didn't listen to it, dove pretty deep into that conversation. And we're going to continue it with a little twist this time because there's so many different facets to who we are. And we focused on a few, and we're going to focus on a few more in this episode. But I want to start with a story. Gosh, it was a long time ago. I was in my mid to late 20s, and I had been living my dream. I wanted to get married and I wanted to have a big family. And I was on my way to that. I was married. I had my first 2 children. Life was good. I was very clear about this is who I am. I was born to be a mom. I was born to be living the life I was living. I thought it was complete and whole, other than I wanted more children. I was on my way to that too, I thought. And my marriage all of a sudden wasn't what I thought it was. We both found ourselves stuck in not a great place and trying to work our way through it, trying to find common ground. As it unraveled, I was unraveling because my whole dream was unraveling. And during that time, I had a dream. I was asleep, kind of a dream. And I woke up in a cold sweat. And here's the dream. I was in the house that we were living in, and I was taking care of my kids, and I had somewhere I had to go, and I had to hurry. And I was trying to make sure the kids were okay, but I was having to get myself dressed. I needed to run in the bathroom, brush my hair, brush my teeth, put on my makeup, and I had somewhere very, very important to go, and I needed to look my best. And in this dream, when I went in the bathroom, I looked in the mirror, and there was no reflection of me anywhere. I couldn't see me. And I could see the towel hanging on the towel bar behind me in the mirror. And I was standing there, and there was no reflection looking back. Like I did not exist. And I moved the towel, and I could see the towel shaking in the mirror. Like it was moving, but you couldn't see my hand moving it. And I put my hands on the mirror, and I was like, what is happening? Is this a trick mirror? What's happening? And there was no me looking back. And I woke up in a cold, cold sweat. And it's one of those dreams that felt so real. Like I had to get up and go in the bathroom, fully expecting that I'm not going to see myself because it felt so real, and being so relieved when I did. Oh, good. I exist. I still exist. I see me looking back. But it didn't feel good to not exist, to look in the mirror and see no evidence of me. And the metaphor of that dream was I didn't need a psychologist to interpret it because I had given up so much of myself in my deep codependency that there was very little left of who I was. Now, in that moment, to say, who am I would define that based on a relationship. I let the relationship take over, whether it was to my children or to my husband, then it became who I was. and I deviated. We talked in this last episode about when your identity starts to get blurry because I abandoned me. I left me behind to become who I thought I needed to be for others. And I could not answer the question, who am I anymore? And when I did ask the question, I realized how far away from me I had gotten. And I had to start a soul search journey to reclaim the parts of me that I had left, that I had abandoned. And I did them based on a value system that I was staying true to. And so today we're going to talk about how that can happen, because it can get real blurry and you can end up so lost. And it's a very scary feeling when you don't know who you are, so you can't live your life and you're at the mercy of what other people want from you, expect from you, how they define you. And it's the ultimate codependency, but it doesn't have to be even in the category of codependent for this to happen. It's very easy if we're not doing the work to claim who we are in this world. And if we do nothing with this podcast, but ask you to really know thyself, know who makes Jenny, who is in charge of my identity, or who is in charge of yours, Kristen, and ask ourselves those questions, then we're our own worst enemy in that. We are at the mercy of others and what they want us to be and who they want us to be. We're at the mercy of our world. And we can get so lost so quickly. And when we're lost, then we're actually really attaching to anybody that'll give us a definition. You know, if I took a pitcher of water and I just started pouring it and there's no vessel to pour it in, the water just travels everywhere. It spills out everywhere. If I don't have my container in check, what life wants to pour into me, into that vessel, I then can hold on to that, which is part of my identity. So this might get a little philosophically deep. I hope you'll hang with us, because this is foundational and fundamental to how we experience life together, how we do it in a healthy way, how we do it with care and compassion and connection with each other. And as we dive into that, the first thing I think, as I started that journey back to reclaiming myself, it is asking myself, like, what do I value? What is it that I value? And are those things mine? You know, are those my values or values someone told me I should have? And I revisited them, and then I started living true to them. I started making a vision board as part of my journey. I make vision boards a lot. And as I was piecing myself back together again, I did it on a vision board. And I noticed on my vision board, it kind of fell into sections of it had to do with these 6 categories that I wanted to reclaim. And the first value that I lived by is my faith. And to me, that was my first and most important value, is to be true to what I believe in my faith, and faith in a higher power, faith in God, how my faith supports me, and the beliefs that I have embraced around my faith were very important to me. And I had to rely on my faith to get through dark storms. And so that was my number one value. Family was another thing that I valued. This was difficult because I was going through a divorce, which was wrecking my family. And it was very painful, but it defined that family really and truly does matter to me. It's why I wanted 5 children. And we just recently, last month, when Bob and I were on a trip, had an opportunity to visit the roots of the Aiello family history and connect to relatives in the homeland of Italy. And not speaking their language and them not understanding us, we still connected on such a deep level. There was an inherent sense of family, that we all shared something in common and just had never even met before. So family was important. Friendships, the people that mattered to me, and how do I nurture and care for friendships? Also, I noticed a value of finance. And for so long in my life, I had a hands-off. We've talked about it in our episodes about money. I didn't want finance to be important to me because I had a lot of flawed beliefs around money. But the truth be told, finance contributes to so many of the areas of things that I value. And finance and value go hand in hand, right? Like part of what is it? I don't need a lot of money to have value, but I value the money I have and I can use it to do good in alignment to the things that I do value. I also really valued a sense of freedom, the freedom to be me. And I had not let myself be me for a long time. I started being who others needed me to be. The people pleaser took over. I started focusing more on what others needed and neglected my own needs. And so the freedom to be able to take care of myself, the freedom to fix my own problems, the freedom to live independently and interdependently was something that I hadn't experienced really in my lifetime. And when I did, it felt so good. It was so empowering. And the sixth one was fun, learning to allow myself to enjoy life. I think we can often give up fun and take life too seriously. And what do you do for fun? And I'm like, well, I work. My work is fun. Well, it is. I love what I do, but that's not really having fun. Sometimes it is. We do have fun together. My clients become my friends. They actually become part of my family, and we do fun things. But every day we should build fun into our day. And I don't think we do that often enough. So those are things that I narrowed down, are things that I value in my day-to-day living and in my life. Faith, family, friendships, finance, freedom, and fun. Those are things that I value. There's more. There's 100 more. But when I'm checking in with alignment, what am I doing if I'm not putting those things in focus for myself? What am I doing? And if I'm not doing that, I don't see my reflection looking back in the mirror anymore. And so what are the things that you value? Kristen, I'd love to hear how you answer that. What do you align to when I say get in alignment with your highest being? What is it that you value and how are you living in alignment to that? And you can maybe share some things because I know that this is something that we're used to doing in the coaching all the time. I'm like, you're out of alignment because you're not being true. You say this is who you are. I can hear that in your energy. I can see it in your energy field. You are a lover of nature and you're still water. You are those simplistic sanctuaries. And when you're all tied in a knot and upset with somebody, you're out of alignment to that. Mm-hmm. So what is it that you would say are your values?
Well, I was trying to think of my own version of a story similar to yours. And I feel like my defining moment of who am I was around 17 when I left church. Mm-hmm. Like I grew up in church.
Yeah.
And I was told how to be. I was told what you believe. I was told what you do. But at the same time, I was always a questioner. I think that's what kind of helped lead me out. But when I left, I explored other churches because I didn't know what to do. And it was a wild journey from 17 to when we started talking, in my late 30s.
Right.
Who am I? I got lost in drinking and doing some drugs. And I went to the Eastern religions and I was an atheist. Like, who am I? And I guess I relate that to my beliefs in a sense now that I'm talking out loud. But while you were talking, I don't think I could have really have told you my values if I hadn't done deep work in the past couple of years. I value nature highly. It is a big piece of medicine to me on all different levels. I truly value authentic conversations. I cannot do small talk. It drains my energy. I truly value unconditional love. Not that I always practice it, but I really, really value that. I truly value peace. Autonomy is huge. I think I've stuck to my guns with that since the day I was born.
Yes.
And I truly value space. to expand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because when I feel constricted, it's the worst.
Yes. Yes.
And I noticed a lot of those don't involve people. So then I'm like, oh, how self-absorbed am I?
Well, and those are the good questions, right? Like, do you feel alone a lot?
No.
Okay.
I like to be alone.
That isn't what I asked.
Okay.
Do you feel alone a lot?
Sometimes.
Okay.
But I've built so much support around me that I don't.
Right. So you are relational.
Yeah.
So it's not self-absorbed. Because I think that's the question. Like, none of this involves other people. But when you're being true to that, you are free to relate to others. You are relational. I know you to be very relational.
Well, I can relate when I have all these things.
Yes. Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, and that's what's important.
Otherwise, I'm triggered.
Because if you abandon those in order to relate, to be in relationship, in order to get along with someone, and you abandon and don't take care of those things you value, then you're living under that person's rule, not your own. Right? So it's not selfish. It's authentic. You can't be authentic if you don't know who you are. Right? And I actually used to pride myself in that. I thought it was a good thing. I used to say, I'm a chameleon. I can blend in anywhere. If I'm with this group of people, I feel right perfectly fine. That's because I was a masterful people pleaser and I knew how to adapt to the environment that I was in, which took me out of a constant, this is who I am, other than being a chameleon who can adapt to anything. That was my full focus of who I am. I am whoever you are. So it took me all my life to really be able to come back to answer the question of who am I?
Right.
If I'm not being something for someone else, what matters to me?
If I had to answer that in one sentence, and I don't think it's true, but it's who I truly am, is who am I? Is I am expansive.
And I think that's true about all of us in our soul. Our souls came here to expand. They don't come here to shrink. I just think that, God created the universe. It was expansion. It took chaos and brought order, and then this divine, vast universe. And we all are a piece of that. Right. And so our home is expansion, expansiveness. When they take matter, it blows my mind. I don't have a Einstein mind, but when they looked at what makes up matter, 99.9% of it is space. Every piece of the table, the coffee cup, the microphone, the computer, all matter is made up of 99.9% nothing. It's crazy to think about that. So, of course, our soul wants that. We fill up space. So I love that definition, of who am I is I'm someone who craves space because that's home. I was reading in some of this article about what determines our self-worth. And this is what's connecting to our last podcast and why we are dwelling on knowing who am I? What do I stand for? What is my true north? What's the template I live by? What is my vision statement, my mission statement, my purpose? There's books written, there's courses taught, there's all kinds of personal development that help you with this. But at the end of the day, what matters to you is part of who you are. And to the degree you allow yourself to step into that and that you protect that and treat it as sacred is the degree that determines your self-worth. Because if you won't show up for you and what you stand for, why would anybody else? And when someone else doesn't, it can make you feel unworthy of anything. You can feel worthless, but it's you that's in the way. So once you claim those best parts of you and you live by those and you treat them with respect and honor yourself as you take yourself out in the world, then your self-worth is defined. It's solid. And you do so much better in life if you have a good self-worth, right? So I was reading these 3 questions and they were really profound. So I thought we'd talk about each one of these in this episode. If your thoughts are someone else's thoughts that you've been conditioned to believe, then you are living someone else's identity.
So big.
Right? So when I shared my faith, my family, friendships, finance, freedom, fun, what that meant to me, I had to go back and say, what are my thoughts about that? And where did I get these thoughts? Because thoughts repeated over and over become a belief, right? A lot of my faith was taught to me through growing up in the church, through my parents and what their values were. They were taught to me. As a parent, we teach values. We tend to tell our children, you need to tell the truth. You need to be kind to others. Those are values. Where'd they come from? Who gave them to you? Are they in alignment with who you want to be in this world? Most of mine are. I was relieved that I could say, yeah, these are my thoughts. I will say that some of them were, yes, in alignment with who I am, but I tend to be a diverse thinker. I'm like you, Kristen, in that I question things. I have thoughts about things that make me wonder about things, and I like to explore those. And so my thoughts might go out on some skinny branches sometimes. And that's okay for me because I'm rooted in what I do know. But I like revisiting. I like challenging myself to say, well, is that really what I believe, or is that what I was taught to believe? And where did that thought come from? And is it mine? Is it one I want to continue to believe, or is it no longer serving me? Some of this is obvious. When I have thoughts about myself and my body image, or how I look, or who I am in the world, and I can be really harsh with myself, I have to ask myself, whose thoughts are those? Are they serving me to think those things about myself? Or am I living into someone else's identity? Is what I look like more important than how I treat another person? And in my value system, the answer is no. But in my life and my thoughts, there's thoughts that say the opposite. And so I have to let go of some of those beliefs because they're not serving me. They're serving someone else's identity. That was important to them, but I adopted that belief. So if your thoughts are someone else's, then you're living someone else's identity. So go visit some of those thoughts you have around each of your values. Do you have any thoughts about that, Kristen?
Well, I'm just kind of thinking like my mom has like this poor me pity mind frame. When's the other shoe going to drop? And I took that on.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was my own. And I have integrated it into my life. So
Right.
It's like, how do I drop that?
Right. Is it serving you?
No.
Is it in alignment with you?
Not with any of my values.
Right. Yet, how often does that control your day-to-day living?
Right.
It's invasive, right? It's very invasive. These thoughts are invasive into, and thoughts create feelings, and feelings are what we decide from. Often we'll have a thought that the shoe's going to drop. That creates fear for me. From my fear, I need to make sure I've come up with plan A, B, C, D, and E and created a back door and a safety net. All that energy could be used for something in alignment with you.
Right.
If you let go of that.
And it's definitely the opposite of simplicity.
Definitely. That's where we get caught in that overcomplicating things. So do you see how visiting this and gleaning from, examining what are my thoughts about that? Is that mine? No, that's my mom. The old adage of, I'm not going to be like my mom. We go through our childhood and we come into our adulthood, young adults, like, I'm not going to ever be my mom. And then one day you look in the mirror and go, oh my gosh, I became my mom. And it's some of those thoughts that we have adopted as our own. So you really want to separate which is mine, which is not. What am I going to be as my template of my truth that I'm going to stand for? If I'm about nature and peace, I'm going to stand in that. I can't have it both ways. If I'm about preparing for the sky to fall, I'm not trusting myself and I'm not at peace. I'm not learning from nature, because so far the sky hasn't fallen. You're not in that space. You're over here in your fear.
It's so funny that you say that, like, so far the sky hasn't fallen, because I have this weird thing about thinking that I'm going to fall through the second floor.
Yes.
And it hasn't happened.
So far, the floor hasn't fallen through.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's what thoughts have been programmed. We're back to that. Before we're 5 years old, we've already had our program installed to live from fear or live from faith. We've had our program installed to, whether we choose love or whether we choose self-preservation. All of those programs are in there. And your life template, if you print out your life, you'll see them. You'll see what those programs are. You don't necessarily have a conscious awareness of them. But once you become aware, then you accept this is not acceptable or it is acceptable. You accept what is, and then you align to who am I and what I want to stand for in my life. And that does not match. And you have to pull yourself. It's like that last episode I talked about when your car's out of alignment, you have to steer it left to go straight. That's what you're always having to do when you're fighting against a program. And you have to do the work to say, I'm overriding that. I'm letting that program go. I'm embracing a new one. And you have to say it over and over and do mantras and repetition and live by it in order to create the new neural pathway in your brain so that that new program is installed. So, yeah, if you're living through someone else's thoughts, you're not living true to your own identity. You're living someone else's. And that's how we become someone we're not. And it's so easy to do. And we do it every day. Okay, another observation. If your behavior is solely based on others, they control your identity. And this goes to what I was talking about being a chameleon. My behavior solely was based on who I was with. Whoever I was with, my behaviors matched theirs. That's how I could fit in. And so therefore, whoever I was with controlled my identity. It's the chameleon. If the chameleon's on a brown tree, then the chameleon's behavior is brown tree. If the chameleon's on a green leaf, then it's that. And I never got to develop my own self-worth because my behavior was solely dependent on others. And therefore, my identity was in their hands, not my own.
And you can learn that really early on and not even realize that you started doing it as a child.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your version of that today?
Well, it's hard because a lot of my family is still super religious. And when I'm around them, I can kind of fall into it to where they have no idea that I have a lot of different beliefs than them.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
But see, I wouldn't want them to pressure me on anything. So I never bring up my beliefs because it would be putting pressure on them or triggering them.
Or inspiring them. So the key for that is how you're presenting it. So your experience is that when people are talking to you about their faith or their religion, they're trying to change you.
Yes.
Which makes you automatically defensive.
Yes.
But you can share yours without wanting them to adopt it, but have a better understanding of who you are and what you value. And if they're not in a position to embrace that and accept you with that, if they haven't got that level of maturity, a lot of times people get threatened by someone who's sure of themselves. I'm so sure of who I am is a threat because, wait, I'm not. I don't know who I am. And it's not a conscious thing. It's an energy feeling like, who does she think she is, and over there talking about all that, or they need you to be who they need you to be. And if you don't cooperate, somehow that's something wrong with you. And so it's the flip side of these questions is how are we with others? Do we control someone's identity? I can look at myself as a parent and the mistakes I made, especially with my older children, because I was so young and new to parenting, but I think I carried it all the way through, is making their identity what I needed it to be, and instead of letting their identity emerge. One of the beautiful things that I can say as a parent right now is that I have learned to let them be them, to Mel Robbins' let them theory. If they want to be tattooed, let them. I at first was just like, oh, I can't believe they're covering their body with a tattoo. Like it was not who I wanted them to be. I was projecting on them, and that judgment was oppressive for them. Who wants to be around that, right? If I'm oppressive because of my thoughts about them, they lived true to who they were. So something I did was right because they stepped into their identity. They found their way to be who they are in the world. The beauty right now for me is that I can let them, even if it's not what I wanted or what I do or what my thoughts and beliefs are, or it's very vastly different, I can see the beauty of it, and in some ways, with some of my children, I wish they knew that, but I think they still hold me in this person I was 20 years ago or 30 years ago. I'm not her anymore, but that's an example of if other people aren't comfortable with you being who you are you safe to be that? Are you capable of standing there saying, but this is who I am? And your opinions of that don't change it.
Right.
As a people pleaser, man, that's hard for me.
I'm thinking too, like when I first started doing this work with you, my family lives in another state. And you don't realize, like when you go back to visit them, how quickly you could fall into that role of who you were.
Yes.
Even though you've changed.
Yes. We go right back into our pattern and into the same, I call it, there's like an entity that exists in families that's called the family dynamic. It's like another family member, the dynamic of siblings, birth order, parents, all the relationship, that family dynamic that we all, spend every minute of our day in is a powerful force. And when we enter back in it, we're in the family dynamic again, even though outside of that energy, we're someone different. When you can go back in and hold the space within it, you shift the whole family dynamic, even if they're not present.
True.
It's very powerful.
I'm thinking it's kind of like the game Clue. Like we all get together and step into our roles. Like I'm Mrs. Peacock. You're Mr. Mustard. This is how you behave.
Yes, it is that. Unless we choose to be something different. And if you do, you change the dance and everybody has to get present to wait. Well, what if you're not Mrs. Peacock, then who am I? And anytime that we can drive that question to the forefront, if you're not that, then who am I? Who am I?
Yeah.
We're back to this question, right?
When I was just back home for the week visiting family, which is one of my favorite things, to be with family, especially on my dad's side of the family. But I was in a conversation, there was 4 people, and it got pretty deep. And I kind of let my wisdom come out, which I normally wouldn't. And I felt like people were looking at me like, oh, where is that coming from?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Hello. Let me introduce myself.
Yeah. Hello. This is Kristen. But I hold it back. A lot of my family probably hear me on the podcast. Like when we're together, I'm Kristen, the sister.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
It's like, oh, where is that person?
Right. And I'm still her. And there's more. That's the way I like to look at it.
Yeah.
I'm still Jenny and more. And maybe I'm more evolved than the one you knew 20 years ago.
Right.
In my acupuncturist's office, there's a quote, and I may not get it perfect, but I love it. And I knew I was in the right place when I walked in and read it. And it said, if I haven't seen you in the last year, allow me to reintroduce myself. My growth is strong.
I love that.
And if we're not doing our work, we're not growing. If I'm the same as I was 20 years ago, that would be sad to me. Like, I'm not that person. I'm not the same person I was 2 weeks ago. Fully expansive, deeper, wiser, living with more clarity, more grounded. I'm me and more, come meet the more. I'm still that, but I'm more. And some things I'm not anymore. The people pleaser, I can still be that, but you aren't going to see her show up as often. I've done a lot of work around that. My growth is strong. I like to be pleasing to others, but I don't abandon myself to do that anymore. And that's big for me. Okay, so we had, if your thoughts are someone else's, then you're living someone else's identity. If your behavior is solely based on others, then someone else is controlling your identity. And this last one is, if someone else makes decisions for you, they own your self-worth. This is when you lose control of yourself. And that was what I had allowed to have happen in my early life. I let other people make decisions for me, whether it was my parents, which I trusted fully. I wanted to go to dental school. My brother and my dad insisted that I didn't want to go to dental school, so I didn't. I ended up doing something I really didn't love. I let other people make those decisions. And then I got married and I let all those decisions, you make the decisions. And then I would resent some of those decisions because I wasn't included in them. But I created that by yielding. It's like, whatever you decide. And I lost myself to the point that I had a nightmare of walking in the bathroom and not seeing anything left of me. And it began my spiritual journey. That moment began my spiritual journey back to, I have to find out who in the heck I am. It felt like I was panning for gold, or when you go to a gem mine and you get a big bucket of sand and you put it in the basket and you put it in the water, and then all the jewels came to the top and all the sand sifted out and you were left with these beautiful rocks and crystals. That's the way that the spiritual journey is to me. We have to let go of the parts that really aren't our thoughts, our beliefs, our values, but were around us. We have to sift through that and then claim the parts of us. What are the jewels in you? What are the gifts that you came here to share with others and to give to others? What makes you unique and beautifully made? What are those qualities? Not only do you need to know them, you have to put boundaries around them. You have to protect them and guard them, and certainly don't abandon them in order to have someone else like you. I tucked all mine away. I actually went into a relationship apologizing for the very best parts of myself and doing my best to keep them under wraps because that person had opinions about them. Whether it was you talk too much or you're too much or whatever. And it's like I edited and quieted and hid in order to fit in and lost myself in that process. So if you're out there thinking you know yourself, you might. That's awesome. But we want to really encourage you to do some soul searching of your own. Find out what makes you you. What are the things about you that you need to pick up and you need to claim and you need to not apologize and live unapologetically you? What parts of you need to shine a little bit brighter and be a little bit more visible in a world that needs you, but is also a world that harshly judges? Because if I do that, that means you can too. And a lot of people don't want that truth. A lot of people would rather be victim, would rather say it's not safe to come out and I don't have to take that risk and be vulnerable. And if you do, then it means I can, and I don't want that. So go away. And that's about them. That's not about me. But it comes down to fundamentally asking yourself, who am I? What do I believe? What are my values? Am I living and aligning my life to those? Am I creating sanctuary in my life so that I protect, guard, nourish, and cherish those parts of myself so that I am at my best to give to others?
I wonder too, if you write down a list of your values and put it in your phone, and if you're out in a situation where you're really triggered and you want to react in a very different way, if you read those, would that help you pause and center you?
Yes. I think so. I do that. And, in our work and in our retreats and the intention workshop for the upcoming year, we pick a word, the word of the year. And in some ways, that's sort of that North Star. Like that's the word that I'm going to live and align to. It holds that. But when it comes to who am I in the world, those values are really important. The values and the gifts that you have. These are my values. What are my gifts? Do you know that about yourself? Like I said, we're multifaceted. I am a collection of beliefs and values. I have gifts, right? I have experiences. I have wisdom. But what are those? And am I using my gifts to do good, which is a value for me? These are the things I value. How am I showing up today in any of those areas? And how am I using my gifts? And in this moment when I'm triggered, if you went back and looked at who am I, if you named 5 things about yourself that described who I am, I'm kind, I'm generous, I'm compassionate, I'm unconditional love, I'm a helper, I'm a healer. If I did all that and I'm triggered by somebody, I'm reminding myself to still be that. If I'm so angry I could hate somebody in that moment, I'm not being true to who I am.
Right.
And you need those reminders. So I love that. It would be a great thing to have in the background of your phone on your wallpaper is a list of 5 things that remind me of who I am when I'm in alignment. What matters to me? What are my values? So spending time really exploring that as the template or the prescription for life. It's like your medicine. These are the things that I need. Am I spending time in nature? That's a part of you. You feel like you should live in the forest, Krista. Like I see your energy like forest fairies. It's like you have to be that. So are you spending time connecting spiritually through nature on a daily basis? How long has it been since you did that?
I can honestly say yes.
I know.
Because of my dog.
I know. Yes, because he makes sure you get out there.
And I go and I touch my tree every day, and I feel like we just have a little exchange, which sounds woo-woo, but I love my tree.
Yes. So that's the way we do that. And that helps you to stay centered in who you are. So when those waves of world events come at you through work, through family, through kids, through your car breaks down and, throws a big kink in the flow of your day, when you surrender to, it's okay, because I'm connected to this. I can be this person and navigate my situation rather than abandon all that and go into full panic, control, anxiety mode,
Well, like with my brain bleed, I just surrendered.
Yeah.
If I didn't, would I have seen the gifts? Would I have come out angry? Would I have come out fearful?
Right.
It would have been different.
Right. Yeah. And in some ways that helped you to clarify what mattered.
Right.
Like you spent a lot of time sitting very still with nothing but your thoughts.
Yep. And I realized I love simplicity. If I could just drive to the grocery store, I'd be one happy gal.
I remember how wonderful it was when you could clean your own kitchen. You were like the simplicity of the doing dishes and having my house in order, my kitchen.
Right.
Meant a lot to you. Like the little things became big things.
Yeah. Not like, I want to save money for this $2,000 purse or.
Right.
Just the way that society, I feel like society trains you to be self-absorbed in a sense.
It does. Capitalism in our country.
Marketing.
Is marketing. It's all very effective. We think we can't live without
it's effective on me. Before we got on this call, this influencer that I follow for Walmart because I'm so cheap posted these jeans. I'm like, I like them. I have to have them.
Oh, it happens. We're so easily influenced. But to me, it's like, well, does that make you feel authentic and good when you wear them? Does it bring out those best parts of you? Then it's worth it.
Yeah.
If it's so that you can feed your ego and fit in and have people go, oh, look at Kristen, she's got, the coolest jeans. Maybe it's not so great.
Right. Or it's just fulfilling. I got a deal and I really like how they fit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's looking at the why of everything. All those little moments bring so much information about ourselves, right? And
That's so true.
And then we have to filter our thoughts about it. Are we in judgment of that? Are we making it right or wrong or good or bad? Or should we or shouldn't we? Those are all judgments. So paying attention to the voice in the stillness and in the silence, which we talked about last podcast. So in wrapping up, we'll head over into the blessing room where we can have a real short little exercise for everybody to walk through in really thinking on a deeper level, really finding ways to explore some of what we've been talking about for our last 2 episodes, which have been very philosophical and refreshing to me. I love philosophy, should have been a philosophy major because I don't know what I'd ever done with it, but I love philosophy. I love thinking about these deep thoughts and exploring the unknown and the vast universe within. For this episode, I want everyone, if you're not in the Blessing Room, it's over on Patreon. You join for $5 a month. We continue our discussion on a deeper level. So if this resonates for you and you want to hear more, you're going to enjoy it. We have tidbits, meditations, journal prompts. We have all kinds of little goodies over there. You've got a library that you can visit. We'd love to have you. It's a real sweet little community that we are happy to share more of ourselves with you there. So we're going to head over there. But if you're not in that community and we're signing off from this episode, we just really want you to, I think the message, the take home is know thyself. Know what matters to you because it's what matters to you, not someone else. Don't be under the control of living someone else's life or letting someone else define your identity. Be in charge of your own self-worth, which means knowing your authentic self, your values, and living true to them. That's what builds your self-worth. Knowing what circumstances, what people, what factors are present that cause you to abandon who you are. When do you turn away from what you believe? You know, I don't remember what show I was watching, but I remembered a question arising in my head. What are you willing to lay your life down for and why? Like, what do you believe in so much so that you're willing to lay your life on the line?
Mine is we are born innately good.
Mm-hmm.
Because people drilled in you that you're sinners. You have this horrible part of you. And if I could lay my life on the line that we were born innately good and from love, I feel like it could change a lot of people.
It could. It could. And because you knew that, you sat up. They can't see you on this podcast, but you sat up and you knew something that you could take to the bank.
Yes.
This is what I believe. What is your version? You know, audience, like, you know, listeners, what is it that you will take to the bank? That is yours and yours alone, that you believe and you won't negotiate. If you can just find one thing and live it, live true to that, and practice living true to your own identity and creating and being in control of your own self-worth, you will be so empowered and it'll carry through. And all the other facets that make us who we are, it will wash over all of you in a beautiful, beautiful way. So that's it for our episode today. And I hope you'll go jump into the Blessing Room over on Patreon. The link's in the show notes. We'd love to have you. And we're going to continue some discussion with. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope you found a spark of wisdom to carry with you, and maybe even a deeper invitation to heal and grow and transform through your own beautiful story. Or maybe this episode made you think of someone who could use encouragement. And if so, I hope you will share it with them. If you'd like to learn more about working with me or attending one of my healing retreats, coaching programs, and other offerings, you can visit my website at jennyaiello.com or email me directly at jenny@jaiello.com. You'll find all the links in the show notes. If today's episode touched you, it would mean the world if you would leave a review or share it with someone who might need it, or just reach out and let me know how it landed for you. I'd love to hear from you. I'm building something special here. Real stories, real life, real connection. One episode, one heart, and one story at a time. As always, with love. Oh, and this is the legal message, but mostly a message from my heart. And I just need to share this with you right now. Please know this podcast is offered solely for educational and entertainment purposes. If you find yourself triggered due to anything that was shared in this podcast, please seek professional help. This podcast is not intended to be a substitute for mental health services. While I am a professional life coach, I am not a psychotherapist, nor am I a mental health clinician. So if you are struggling emotionally, please seek help because you matter, you are important, and most of all, you are worthy of doing this work, the work that leads you to a better and healthier place. Okay? All right. Thank you. And please always make enough time to take care of yourself and do so with love.